Good day, Perceptive Reader. Today is October 5th, Sunday. What I want to share with you today is a reminder, a helpful reminder. In the Bible, in the book of Hebrews, and there are other places that make this very clear, it talks about our speech and our prayers, all such things that did you know can really please God? Please God on such a level that it's like a sweet odor to Him when we are. Let me tell you, this can be explained more in detail that I won't go into, but I'm going to just say it like this. It can be a sweet smell to God when we are truly trying to do what's right within His will, you see. And the aspects of His will still are very, very simple. And what I mean by that is when you think about the two greatest commandments, uh, you must love God with your whole heart and whole soul and whole mind, and then love your neighbor as yourself. In those two greatest commandments, it helps us to appreciate how we're supposed to treat our relationship with God and treat other people. And even when there are misunderstandings, that love, the way it functions, it still functions in a humane, correct way. So, what does that mean? Not only do we treat people right, but then we also don't look for ways to look for loopholes in order to treat them wrong, you see, or in a bad way. It also shows we are honest with people, we give them respect. And then when it comes to work, we don't cheat people out their wages as well. And we don't gaslight people to keep them from getting their wages. Have you ever heard the expression, some people just like to get something for nothing? And they'll try to say, do it for the good of the cause. Well, according to God's principles of everything that I just talked about, it really goes to show no one should be forced to do anything that they didn't sign up for. When it comes to even certain disciplines, no one should be forced to take some type of education that they didn't sign up for, or what have you. But that's between them and God. That's a fact. Uh, Continuing along with that thought, you see, uh, people will uh, basically, if you don't read the Bible yourself, will confuse you at times what the meaning of the Bible, the Spirit is. You can say something, and like Jesus did all the time, He knew all the laws, He knew all God's requirements. And you got to really remember that before Jesus was on the earth, He was with His Father for billions of years. So He certainly, more than the use of expression, measured up to God's holiness standard, His perfect in His ways. He measured up to that. He could be right beside God. As humans, we can't do that. And that's one of the reasons why we have the ransom sacrifice. Uh, the ransom sacrifice of Jesus, it shows an understanding of the limitations that we as humans have. Even the strongest person on the face of this earth still has physical limitations and spiritual limitations in the way that we are. Now, does that mean that we can't have a happy and fulfilling life? No, it doesn't mean that at all. But it still goes to show that if God is understanding with our physical, mental, and spiritual limitations, and believe me, he really is, then as humans, we should recognize that as well and really ward off the proddings of self-righteousness and arrogance to push persons to do things at times that they shouldn't be pushed in, to force human beings to do things at times that they shouldn't be forced to do. Now, let's go to part two of this. I want to make this clear, and I don't talk about this much because it's just a situation of the world today. But, there are really occupations, there are responsibilities, and see, and this is what I want to emphasize, that take human beings at times to the next level, if you will, of physical activity and physical improvement. Depending on your body structure, the way you're made up, and even your own age, you see, um, there are just certain activities you better find out whether you should do them or not, or what have you. There was one even Tai Chi master, if you will, of exercise, if you will, that was mentioning even when it comes to running, you can actually damage your joints and things of that nature, which I know that is true for some people. That can happen even younger than the older ages. But see, that's not what I'm going to really talk about here. What I'm going to still talk about in this case is what's involved with the disciplines. It's normally something going on with your mental strength, okay? Your mental strength. The older you get, depending on what life has already thrown at you, part of that maintaining your mind, okay, and strengthening it even more is to have that balance, if you will, that balance of, okay, I exercise my mind in this way. I did all this, proactive stuff in that way or what have you. And then you enjoy the fruits of your labor. Uh, Same thing, this includes even writers. This includes more than just physical athletes. But in every avenue, if you will, of life, your occupation, there is supposed to be an ability to always enjoy the fruits of your labor. God even showed that by it said he rested on the seventh day. And this is going back into the aspect of respecting how God even, you see, considers the state that we're in, uh, the limitations that we have, or physical, mentally, and spiritually, as we talked about earlier. And that's why we need the ransom sacrifice, and how we should show we got that same type of wisdom and understanding and compassion. Okay. And so let me say again, uh, there are some people who do not understand this at this time, where they will still try to push people and human beings to the limit of this and that way, yet they don't want to really give them the wages or the compensation for it. And they'll make it seem like that maybe that person doesn't have the right view. Well, I'm here to tell you today, from the way that I've seen this already applied for many years, and it works in a great way. See, it always depends on, I told you, what you signed up for. And that's why I don't put down, You see other persons who have taken jobs and occupations of exactly or what is required or what have you. But I'm here to tell you again that if you already, not you, but if somebody already put something on you that you never signed up for and they cause injury to you, remember that will, at least in the very first action of it or what have you, could be actually making that person fall into blood guilt for doing it to you, because they'll be like, well, that human being should be like this or that way. And it's like, no, that's going beyond even what God says. And so to still try to force a human being to do something as if you're just taking over their life and putting stress and things on their body, that it's like, you forget, no, this person may have already been through hell in life. I'm going to use expression. That person may have already been through hell in their life. And part of that hell was people stealing from them, people never giving them the wages that was due them. And especially when you got people as well who leave the judgment to God. Did you know it doesn't really give some personalities any type of really thrill at all to find out that a person had went to jail or what have you because of stealing from them per se. They understand that may be justice, but at the same time, if you don't um, directly inform the person and in the way that, like I told you, can be verified and things of that nature, that this is what happened. This is the judgment for this or that or what have you, and it was carried out in this way. I mean, you don't even always have to be specific, but the whole point is this: sometimes people continue to feel like there is no justice if a lot of stuff is always going on behind the scenes, and you're telling that person you just need to believe in the system, when really we already know from Jesus' words in the Holy Bible, uh, it's not really the case of the way that, again, the people try to make it say that the system works, because it doesn't really work that way. What I'm telling you is we are supposed to test things out, so to speak. We are supposed to ask questions. We are supposed to write letters and things of that nature. And the thing about it is, what I've seen today from even um, uh, well-meaning people is this: they real good about still, in a sense, just complaining about a matter or what have you, but they still can sometimes have information, and they know that they got the information, and rather doing things in a formal way rather than doing things in a Matthew chapter 5 or Matthew chapter 18 way, a direct way, so it won't be no ambiguity. They will rather do things in such an indirect way. But what they're leaving out, what they're failing to realize is this: they're not the only person that can sit around and just throw pot shots at you all day, especially depending on what type of occupation you have. So I would say it's even arrogance on some person's part to think that all you have time to do is sit around all day and just listen to one side of the story that's coming out of their mouth, which could really be very, very misleading, and even not the information that you need. But all the same, let me share this one more thought with you, is this: See, when I talk about what you signed up for, this is what I mean. I've already said certain occupations, you see, actually have requirement for this reason or that reason. And you voluntarily sign up for this or that. Okay, we established that. This is important, what I'm going to share with you next. Those disciplines, okay, the way different institutions function, okay, even including justice, okay, things of that nature. You will see for one action, okay, there's another saying where every action requires or normally ends up giving a equal or opposite reaction or what have you. And that's the way a lot of people view even mistakes and things of that nature. They'll even use a word that it has to be commiserate with the crime that was committed or what have you. And what I would say to that in general sometimes is sometimes they're saying they're carrying that out, but they're still, when it comes to money, that like I said, that restoration, that compensation is never given. So the only part of that meeting out of justice still has more to do with maybe just someone being hurt and hurt by cold hard justice, rather than the whole aspect of, okay, did this person steal from you? Then you know what, you give it back. It shouldn't be this person stole, so now let's just, you see, beat this person up and steal from them, but still never give the person who actually they stole from. And the thing about it is, being slandered to the point where people can lose job opportunities and things of that nature, then that's money. That is still money. That assassination of character on that level, sometimes people say, well, look, nobody patronage his or her store. But the point is, the reason why nobody patronage this person's store is because the assassination of character can be so thorough at times where they make it seem like this person would have never made any money. But no, they were already devious in the way the surroundings of what they did in targeting that person. That's the only reason why they didn't make any money. That's the only reason why there are paywalls which were broken and things of that nature at times, which the people knew about. Some of those persons might have just went on ahead and been fired or what have you. But see, still look what happened in the meantime. Yeah, the person who did the crime is now out the picture, but what about all the residual of what was left? Are the paywalls still broken? You see, were those bad and inflammatory letters that made resources be denied to them, unemployment compensation, all those type of things? Were those letters followed up and highlighted, so to speak, or put on high, so to speak, to show that this letter, we come to find out, was from somebody who actually was lying? This letter, this accusation, this charge, this sentence, which was unjustly placed upon this person. These medical charges that was slanderously placed out into the public and things of that nature. You see, when I say commiserate, so to speak, or what have you, then part of that should be, as I told you, a restoration. You know, crime can happen to persons on such a level. And the way that they teach today, you know, sometimes some of these persons, they make it seem like you got to keep on adapting and changing and things of that nature. But see, the reality is, I told you the way that human life is really supposed to function. It is supposed to function that, yeah, you enjoy the fruits of your labor for all the hard work that you put into it. And what these many agencies are just trying to do at times is to have you work, but never enjoy the fruits of your labor in the way that you're supposed to enjoy them, the way that God has given us. And see, and that's not a good life, no matter what nobody else say, unless your personality is of such where that's what you signed up for. And that's the same thing like with discipline. I know it took me a while to get to this point because remember I told you this is something that I don't really talk about in general because it does take sometimes, at least for me, extra groundwork to prepare your mind to deal with what I'm about to share with you. And even now, it would be something that I would rather elaborate in a different type of setting, and that's why I won't. But I basically tried to give you everything of why I'm saying this in the first 20 minutes that we've talked about this on, okay? And I know it was a lot. There are, again, certain ways different groups function. Some of them are very stringent. Some of them will even be considered harsh. And yet, for the people who were born, raised, and bred, so to speak, in that manner, did you know some of those people, they eat it up? I mean, they literally just enjoy every aspect of that type of living. And yet, did you know that some of those same ways of disciplining persons, the same way of their crime and punishment and things of that nature, that they are completely, well, I ain't gonna say they are completely okay with. No, I'm not gonna say that. But all the same, they still have the mind and the body and the spirit to deal with it in that way or in that level. It works for them because of the mission, so to speak, that they already have. And there are even certain aspects I told you as part of their instruction and discipline that these persons do, that they carry out, that it continues to fortify their mind, if you will, even adjust their psyche, if you will, in order to do what the job entails at time. Okay? That's the other thing I'm going to say. That's the mission. That's the environment. Okay. All right. I hope you're following me here. Okay. Now, this is what I'm going to say next. Though that same type of method or treatment of teaching, of discipline, of justice, placed in another setting or another institution, okay, would actually affect another person's mind in such a way that they could actually be diagnosed in some very adverse ways. The same high regard, the same awards and commendations, if you will, given in one group would actually, in another group, be considered very, very against the neighbor, mentally, spiritually. It would even be considered, if somebody was a parent, an abusive parent, even, see, in another group or setting. So what am I sharing with you? This is the reason why we must be able to help people to see that that persons are able to exercise things in their conscience in this way and that way, you see, to do certain things. And they're also able to exercise in their mind what they're doing. Okay, their worship and things of that nature. You see, there's a method that I told you, I already mentioned it, so I'll mention it again, where it does talk about MK Ultra type things. You see, you sitting there reading your Bible, you see, no matter where you're reading it, or especially even if you're reading it in your own home or what have you, then even according to the United States Constitution, nobody should be able to be invading your privacy on that way and trying to stop you from reading your Bible and doing all sorts of things just because you're reading it. That's your mind. That's your space. That's your spirituality. But then to try to link it with another institution in this way or that way, well, guess what? That's them if they choose to do that. But it doesn't mean you did it. It doesn't mean that you have even crossed your neutrality. You see, we have the right from God to live because he gave us life. Okay. We have the right to worship him because he wants us to worship him. That's part of his will. And so when you got somebody already minding their own business and they're even being proactive citizens and helping in this way or that way, the argument does not fit that they have crossed their neutrality just because you've been trying to paint it in that way. That person just minding their own business. Part of their minding their own business is still doing good to others, to everybody. And so, again, not all methods and disciplines and education applies to every single member in society. But just like the Bill of Rights have clearly shown us that it still fits even the uniqueness of the individual in the society as well. And that's one aspect that sometimes people forget. God, Jehovah God and Jesus shows that they appreciate the uniqueness of the individual. So there's no really standardization in that way. God is organized, but he showed by all the different personalities. There's not no standardization of personalities. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. And if you have any questions, go to buymeacoffee.com/James Poe Artistry. Take care.